And so I am so excited to be talking to you right now about fasting. And as we are moving into this new year, new you, putting diabetes in remission, reversing diabetes, the question always comes up, well, what happens during fasting? Because I have all these emotions, this roller coaster, if you will, that is happening, that's occurring, these things that I'm feeling, how do I manage those? And that's what we're talking about tonight, the emotional roller coaster that comes with fasting as we get into this amazing tool that we're using to reverse diabetes. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level in this year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to get off of diabetes medications, improve their metabolic health, and be healthier. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that I am happy, we are happy that you are in this space, and let you know that, hey, you're welcome. Also, if you have questions as we go throughout the evening, as we go through our discussion, go ahead and put those in the chat, in the comments, because I'd love to get to those as we talk about our topic for tonight. As I usually do, we've got some monitors that we're going to be taking a look at here in just a minute so you can see what my blood sugars are doing. And y'all, this is a little bit over 69 hours of fasting. That's right, 69 hours. As you know, I always do a fast, or I've been doing a fast every week, and this week is no exception. I actually started the fast earlier, and we'll talk about what's going on with that here in just a minute. But I've got my monitors. Let's see, where is it? I've got my meters, and you will see. Let's put over here. There we go. So I've got my monitors here that we'll take a look at in just a minute. And then right down below, that is my Dexcom Clarity report that we'll go through so you can see what's been going on over the last several days as we've been fasting. Like I said, a little bit over 69 hours right now that we're doing in terms of the check-in. Our 72 hours is going to be here at 1 o'clock. So in about 3 hours, we'll be taking a look at that and going through it. But glad that you're here. Glad that you are able to hang out and spend some time with us. I do see one of our community members out there. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Amigos, hey, glad that you're here, man. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with us. Hopefully you are having a great day and having some good success. If you're out there, whatever platform you're on, go ahead and put, if you are fasting, I want you to put yes. If you fasted this week, right? I want you to put week. So if you fasted this week, but you're out of the fast, put week. If you are currently fasting, I want you to go ahead and put yes, because I'd love to know where you are as we move into the rest of the evening. And if you know someone who should be here, someone who should be hanging out with us, and you don't see them, go ahead and send them a link. Let them know that we are in the saddle and we are excited to be doing our fasting. So let me go ahead as I normally do, and some of what we're going to be talking about in my check-in, which I'm about to do, is actually related to the discussion that we're going to be having here in just a minute as we talk about those emotional things, right? So our check-in, as you know, I talk about how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And physically, I am not lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. I don't have any palpitations, which is one of the things that sometimes people will talk about having. I often say that much of what happens during the fast has to do with preparing for the fast itself. And so often, if we're not doing a good job of preparing leading up to that fast, then we will feel those symptoms: lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, so forth. Remember the four things, actually I was going to say three, but the four things I talk about as we get into the fast. Number one is making sure that you are well rested. Right? Because if you're not well rested when you do get into the fast, then that can be difficult. Making sure that you are hydrated, because if you're not hydrated, once again, we get lightheadedness, dizziness, sweatiness, palpitations, and making sure that you are not coming out of or going into a stressful period, right? So very important. Making sure also that pre-fasting that you are doing a good job of your nutrition, making sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods and a variety of food that's well balanced. Because if you're not doing that, then that can cause some problems on its own. And people think that it's a fasting issue, but it's not a fasting issue per se. It is that we have not done a good enough job of preparing for the fast. Okay, so that's our physical. When we talk about mental, I am right now feeling pretty clear. Some of this will come out in the discussion that we'll have here in just a minute about emotions, because the fasting itself can cause some changes in our mentation, changes in emotions. We'll get into that here in just a minute. But in terms of how I'm feeling clear. I'm not feeling foggy. This was a pretty good week. As I mentioned earlier on our show last night, actually, getting into this week's fast, I was feeling more fatigued because I was up, and particularly now I'm up. It's later, and I had several meetings. As you know, I have a lot of meetings. Well, not a lot, but I do meetings in the evening, and so sometimes that will push this segment a little later. But that is what happens. And so if I'm not careful, I will feel fatigued, and that can impact my mentation. And if I'm not careful, I'm thinking that, this is a fasting issue, when it's really not a fasting issue. It is, once again, those things that we do as we get into the fast or not. Okay? And then emotionally, and I'm going to just skim this one because we're coming back to talk a little bit more about emotional issues. Had some, so last week came out of birthday, anniversary, busyness at work, at church, some difficult conversations. And so emotionally, I was feeling a little bit on edge. But as I got further into the fast, and like I said, 69 hours, actually feeling pretty good, excited about the fact that, hey, tomorrow is going to be we're not working on Thursday. We get, that's 4th of July and all those types of things. We're going to get to hang out, hopefully with some friends that we'll not run into, hopefully plan to see, and just hanging out with the family. Okay. And I'm also excited that I get to eat some, hopefully some barbecue here in just a little while as we get into the holidays. Okay, so that's how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and how I'm feeling emotionally. And as I said, right now, that check-in, I'm feeling pretty good, so no issues going on. Okay, what I want to do also now is hop over, and we're going to take a look at my glucose monitors, because we want to see where my blood sugars are at right now, and then we'll talk a little bit more about where we are heading in terms of our discussion. So let me hop back over and let's take a look at what those blood sugars are. And you'll see here coming up in just a minute, this is my Libre, and my Libre says right now blood sugars are 63, and you'll see for part of the day at least, we've been in the red, and that is below 70. So the bottom of that green bar that you see there, that's 70, the bottom of it. And so I've been riding below 70 at least starting maybe, was that about 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock. So this is my Libre, and then here's my Dexcom. So Dexcom says that right now I'm 71, pretty close between the two. As you know, sometimes they can be quite different. They can be about 20% different from each other. All right. So also now let me hop over and let's take a look at, so I've got my Keto Mojo and my Contour, and I've got my test strip right here. Let's go ahead and let's grab out. So this is a ketone strip that goes with the Contour. And this is a blood sugar strip that goes, not the Contour, but the Keto Mojo. So I've got those two. And then in my trusty little container, let's go ahead and I'm going to grab one of these Lansing devices, or Lancets, as they're called. Okay. So let's see. Let's go ahead and I'm going to grab a strip for the contour. Get that one in there. And we're going to use the blood sugar strip first, the glucose strip. I can get that out of there and get that into the Keto Mojo. And while you're there, go ahead and put, if you think you know what my blood sugars are going to be in either of those, go ahead and drop that in the comments. So I like this lens set because it's simple to use. So right now, so you'll see there, this is spring loaded. So what I'll do once I break this kind of purple top off, and basically you screw it and you twist it, and that comes right off. And when I press this little lever, then the spring will release the lancet. That will give me a poke in my finger, and then we'll get a drop of blood. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up here. And let me see. Let me change to perhaps this one. Okay. So what I'm going to do is bring this up to the mic and go ahead and press right here. Hopefully that did. I don't think I felt that one. So let me see if that gave me a good enough. Okay, yeah, that was good. See, look at that. So go ahead and we'll get a drop of blood right there on the Keto Mojo, and then a drop of blood for the contour. And look at that. So the contour, the Keto Mojo says my blood sugar is 63. The contour says 57. And then, of course, you see there that the Dexcom says 72, and then 62 for the Freestyle Libre. Okay, let's go ahead and let's pull this one out, and let's get this guy over, because this is going to be for my ketone. And so now, if you think you know what my ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well, as we go ahead and get that started. And just as I always do, I'm going to go ahead and tease you guys, because I'm not going to show you what the final number is quite yet. Yeah, I know, I'm bad. Right, I should not do that, right? But if you think you know what my ketones are going to be after 69, going to be almost 70 hours here in just a little while. What do you think my ketones are? What do you think they're going to be? Go ahead and drop that in the comments, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at that here in just a minute. And if you we'll go through this again, but remember, ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. Ketones that are 0.5 to 1.5 are considered nutritional ketosis. And then ketones that are higher than that are considered therapeutic ketosis. All right. So once again, normal, nutritional ketosis, and then therapeutic ketosis. Those are the ranges, and they show us different types of places that we find ourselves in terms of our ketones. And so if you think you know what my ketones are going to be here after fasting for 69 hours, go ahead and pop those into the chat. I do see at least one person is popping in and saying, hey, I think I know what it's going to be. So I'm glad for that. All right, so let's hop over and let's talk about our discussion for tonight. And so tonight we're talking about emotions. All right, so we're talking about emotions and what is going on with emotions as we are moving into fasting. And you see there, yeah, so these are all the different emotions. And so emotions really are, and emotions are interesting, right? Because we see emotions in actually a lot of different places. If you remember, when we talk about the HEAT model, we talk about emotions. Remember that second part of that. So HEAT, habits, emotions, access, and taste. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. So that second thing there is emotion. And that is where we find ourselves often. and emotions are probably one of the stronger portions of the heat model. The emotions also come up when we talk about the T. So that is the taste. So emotions and taste, they come up there. And so emotions will drive much of what we do in lots of the different areas where we find ourselves if we're not careful, right? So emotions, and happy, sad, and a lot of people think that negative emotions are actually the only ones that will cause issues for us. But it's not just a negative emotion. Any kind of emotion, if you are not careful and if you're not able to successfully regulate, if you're not able to successfully manage those, then any emotion will also cause a problem in that space for us if we're not doing a good job of managing them. Okay? All right. So what we're talking about is this fasting and mood, the emotional roller coaster, right? So that's what you saw for our advertisement for this. So understanding the emotions or emotional effects on fasting, right? So we want to talk about physical and emotional connection, and then we want to talk about hormonal changes, because those are big ones. And that's where really a lot of what we will see occurs. Physical, and remember, when I do my check-in, I talk about how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? So there's that interplay between the two. So when we talk about physical emotions, when we fast, the blood sugar levels will fluctuate. You know, as we get out of the carb burning phase. Remember, this is kind of like a hybrid car. And so once the blood sugars are beginning to go down, right? So we're switching from quote unquote gas to electricity. We're switching from carbs to ketones. As those levels begin to drop, then our energy levels can fluctuate. And low blood sugars in those initial phases can lead to irritability. It can lead to anxiousness, and it can lead to depression even. So have you ever been around someone who is not fasting, but they're on a diet? What are they like during those first days as they getting into, or even longer, right? Because what they've done is they've restricted the amount of calories, the amount of carbs they're taking in, because they're trying to lose weight. And because of that, their blood sugars begin to go down, their energy levels begin to wane, and they are irritable, they're anxious, sometimes they can be depressed, right? But stable blood sugars, what blood sugars are stable? Blood sugars are stable during fasting, right? As you get into particularly some of those more extended fasts. And remember, extended fast is up to starting at 24 hours. So at 24 hours, we consider it to be an extended fast. So stable blood sugars can enhance mental clarity and also enhance focus. So that's the physical connection. So hormonal changes. There's this cascade of hormonal changes that we will see as we talk about as we get into fasting. So there's this cascade that you will see, and several hormones are happening. Now, the one obvious one that we talk about is insulin, but it does not have to be insulin. There are several other hormones that are a part of this this cascade that we see, and those can have a big part in what goes on in our body. Okay, so these things change. For instance, cortisol levels. And cortisol is considered the stress hormone, right? And so the stress hormone comes out, and because cortisol comes out, cortisol can make us feel increased irritability. It can make us feel anxious. It can make us feel stressed. If you remember, several weeks ago, I was actually I was fasting. I was getting ready to do some traveling during one of our check-ins. I don't know if you remember that, but during that process, I was feeling anxious, and I was feeling a little irritable. I was feeling like there was something going on. And what I realized was that cortisol levels were rising. There was this anticipation that I was beginning to feel about what was going to happen. And because there was this anticipation, I actually started to feel anxious and irritable. But it wasn't that I was nervous. It was just that my cortisol levels were starting to rise. And when that happens, then we begin to feel all of those symptoms as we just described. Okay? So this can cause feelings of stress and anxiety if you're not careful and if you don't understand it. So fasting, right, can also boost the production of other hormones like endorphins. And so rather than feeling the stress and the anxiety, now we get that feeling of goodness. They tell you that those endorphins, when they come out, you make you feel good, right? So not just insulin, because insulin drops as the blood sugar drops. Now we've talked about cortisol, which is that stress hormone. We've talked about things like serotonin, right? And those endorphins, because those feel good. And then, of course, also dopamine. And so dopamine is that reward hormone. So as the dopamine dopamine is coming out because of fasting, then we get this sense of reward. We get that sense of pleasure. We get that sense of anticipation. And a lot of people have said that, dopamine really is kind of the hormone of anticipation, because your brain remembers what it was like to feel that. And so just like there are people who get excited and get pumped from going to the gym and exercising and lifting weights and running, right? That runner's high. There's this feeling that you get when you fast, right? So I fasted, and man, I tell people that I begin to anticipate the days right before fasting. And people say, well, I don't understand why you would anticipate it, because I remember what it was like. Right? I remember the last time when I fasted and how good I feel. And so during the course of fasting, you will get, you can get those feelings where you are feeling almost kind of like a runner's high. Okay? So that dopamine, that reward, that pleasure that comes out. So those are some of the hormonal changes. So what are some common emotional phases that we go through during fasting? So the initial phase of excitement. So the beginning. So when people first start fasting, they get this excitement that they didn't anticipate, because all of a sudden they're taking charge, they're taking control, they're taking the responsibility for their health and getting well. I can't tell you the number of people that come into the office and they're like, man, this feels so good that finally I understand. Finally, I look like my blood sugars are getting better. Finally, it feels like I am in control, and then these blood sugars are not controlling me. Because often that's one of the things that happens in our minds. We think that the blood sugars, we think that the diabetes is in charge. And so one of the first things that I want people to understand is it's not the diabetes that's in charge. You're actually in charge. And that goes back to our whole idea of being unlimited, the unlimited potential that we find at our fingertips, right? You've done things in the past and those things didn't work, or you've been told that you can't do it, or you weren't successful with it. And so some people basically kind of throw their hands up. But during the fast, this is something that you have control over. So people will initially, in that initial phase, they feel some excitement, sense of empowerment, right? Because this is what they're doing and they are now doing it. So this phase can be very positive as people are getting into it, right? And it provides a mental boost as they start to fast. So fun phase. So then we move to the hunger and irritability, right? So this, once again, so we get into those first days and people are excited, yay, our first hours. And as they get further on, now our body's beginning to transition from burning sugar, and the glycogen is dropping, and we're starting to now go towards burning ketones. And people, just like we talked about this irritability, people will begin to feel irritable and maybe frustrated as those levels wane, as those levels drop. All right, so this is common, and it's important to understand that it is common. This is not something that you're doing wrong. It is just the change, right? And the key, right, is to recognize this. and strategies, right? Make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're staying busy, make sure you're engaged, right, in relaxation. So all the things, notice, these are the things that we talked about in terms of getting into the fast, preparing for the fast, making sure that you're rested, making sure that you're hydrated, making sure you don't have a lot of stressful things going on, okay? So that is so important, because if you don't do that, then you end up feeling like the fasting is not working. Right? So that's the hunger and the irritability phase. And then we get to this increased focus that we talked about, this focus and clarity. So after that initial hunger, as the body now is switching from one source of energy to the other source of energy, the brain, which likes ketones, right? People begin to feel this clarity that comes over them, where they're no longer thinking about food, and the ketones are being pumped in because we've switched from burning carbohydrates, and we're on high octane now, right? And this can lead to heightened awareness, concentration, clear mindset, right? Which can be very rewarding, because all of a sudden you're doing those things that you weren't doing before. You're feeling clear, you're feeling energized, and this gives us the ability now to move into a space that gives us success, that allows us to tap into that ability that we thought was beyond our grasp. It allows us now, we've seen what the blood sugars can be like. We've seen some of the weight management, the weight loss that we've had, right? And for people who are out there who've been doing this, we see the benefits. And I was like, man, I can do this. And so part of the strategy for being able to successfully get through a fast and to manage the roller coaster is this idea of mindfulness and emotional intelligence. So mindfulness says that if I am present, if I'm aware of where I am, if I'm aware of my emotions, if I've used emotional intelligence, this idea of being cognizant, this idea of being present in my space and understanding how I am responding to the world and how other people's emotions are responding to me, that interplay between us, then I am present and I can make a decision on how to adjust that. I talk about the fact that there's this book that a friend of mine gave me, and it was an amazing book. I loved it, and it has helped me tremendously over the years. And it's called The Power of Now. And The Power of Now says that there's something that happened in the past, and if I dwell in the past on the mistakes I've made, then I become depressed. There's stuff that is going to happen in the future. It's the unknown. And if I dwell on the things for the future, because it is not yet known and because I don't have control, then I can become anxious. So remember, depression from the past, anxiety for the future. The only thing that's going on is what is present, what is now. And at this moment, at this very moment, I can't tell you for the moment right after now, I can't tell you for the previous moment, but at this moment, I'm okay. And if I can live continually in the now, then I'm okay. And I can deal with the things around me. Often, the reason why we have issues just in life in general is because we're not living in the now. We're living in the past and we're living in the future. But we're not living in this very present moment. And that's why the HEAT model also is a very interesting model, because it tells us about those food triggers. And often during the emotions, during the taste part of the HEAT, remember, habits, emotions, access, and taste. During those emotions, we find ourselves with buffering behaviors. And buffering behaviors are those behaviors that we do to either not feel. So we're feeling something that we want to get away from. Or as my wife pointed out to me just recently, we buffer also to underfeel. So we're feeling something and we want to get away from it, so we do some buffering, we eat. Or there's something that we are trying to avoid feeling, and so we eat. So either we have eaten, or we are feeling it and we want to get away from it, or we don't want to feel it, and so we get away from that. Okay? So those are a couple of places where we will find that that being mindful is very important. So being mindful, knowing how I'm feeling. Why am I feeling that? And how do I manage it, right? Is it something that's coming in the future? I'm anxious. Something that's in the past. And because of the hormonal changes, if you can understand what's going on in your body, then you can understand, say, okay, hey, wait a minute. Maybe my cortisol level is up, which happens during fasting. Or I'm feeling low in terms of energy because of what's going on in my fasting, right? So mindfulness. Meditation is a perfect place, a perfect way of dealing with some of the fluctuations that we will find, because meditation allows us to be quiet in our space. It allows us to be present. It allows us to go through some of those rituals, some of those spiritual rituals that we go through, some of those the ability to be present, right? To clear our minds. And often I'll tell people, when I want you to be mindful, I'm actually not trying to get you to clear your mind. People say, "Oh, you got to be nothing in there." No, in fact, one of my favorite things to do is, when I am in a stressful situation, is to take myself to a place called St. Simon's Island. It's off the coast of Georgia, right there, Georgia and Florida. And if you drive go through Georgia, you'll get to the coast, and you drive off onto this island. And it was an amazing place that I have captured in my mind. And so when I need a place where I need to go to meditate in my mind, I will stop and I'll go there mentally. And I'm talking, as I'm going, I'm imagining driving across the road as we get across the island. And I'm imagining even the trip, preparing for the trip, and putting the suitcases in the car, and the drive as I'm going there. And as we got there, I'll remember the little cottage that we stayed in, and how they turned down the comforters, and they had the little candy, little mint on the pillow, and we put our stuff in, and my wife and I walked down the street and saw the little shops that were there. It was drizzling just a little bit, so just a little bit mist as we went, and we weren't worried, we weren't scared about getting wet, and we just spent some time together. Notice what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm meditating. So I'm mindful, right? Because I'm right here. And then I'm meditating. Okay, how do I put myself in a position where I can deal with some of these things that are going on? Okay, so mindfulness. Number 2, meditation. Number 3, and so we're talking now about how do we deal with those emotions. Number 3, hydration. If you are not hydrated, then a lot of the metabolic processes that are going on can be blunted. Remember, your body's breaking down fat. It's converting it to ketones. There are waste products that are going on. Autophagy has kicked in if you're on one of the longer fasts. And during the process of autophagy, which is their cleaning process, then your body has all this recycling that it has to do. And if we're not hydrated, then those processes can be stalled. I can feel lightheaded. I can feel dizzy. I can feel palpitations. I can get those mood swings. All of that happens if I'm not hydrated. So make sure mindful. So emotional intelligence, be in the present. Number 2, make sure that you are doing some meditation, and people do this in lots of things. People have their spiritual routines that they go, they read their Bible, they listen to music. As I said, when I need to do somewhere, I am going to St. Simon's Island. Or even if I'm sitting in the chair and I'm counting the leaves on the tree that's outside my study. Okay? So balanced nutrition. during your eating windows. As you prepare for the fast, if you do a good job of getting into the fast, sometimes the fast goes, I shouldn't say sometimes, the fast goes better. But if you're not well nourished leading into the fast, you can develop deficiencies, you can develop electrolytes imbalances, and so forth. And then now the fast becomes even more difficult to have. So you want to focus on nutrient-dense foods as opposed to calorie-dense. If you've not done so, go back and look at our show that we did where we talked about calories, right? I think that was it last week? Let's see. Is that there? Yeah, if you've not done so, go back and look at that. Yeah, so the key, are calories the key? Was our question in our discussion there. Okay, so we want to do nutrient-dense. Food that is full of fiber and minerals and vitamins and fluids. So we're not talking about sitting down and like really gorging. We're talking about balanced meals, right? That's what we talk about when we talk about those nutrient-dense meals, okay? And then physical activity. Just this month, our challenge is to develop a physical activity routine, right? We've not talked about exercise up until now, but physical activity. If you remember when I had that check-in where I was feeling the anxiety, where the cortisol levels going up, what did I do? I went and I walked around the hospital for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And when I came back, my emotions had calmed. So light physical activity can be a great mood stabilizer, particularly during fasting, right? Exercise increases endorphins, and this can lead to your mood being more stable. So exercising. Okay? So those are the things that we do in our fasting process to deal with what we're calling the roller coaster, right? So all of those emotions that we see, emotions that we run into as we're fasting. And as you get into the fast, as you move through the fast, if you do a good job of managing those, we get through the fast better. And when we're ready to do a fast next time, our brain doesn't short circuit and it doesn't derail us because it remembered the bad time or the emotions that we felt the last time. Because now we've dealt with those and it is actually a pleasant time. It's a pleasant feeling to get back into the fast. Awesome. All right, good. All right, so let's see. So I see, let's hop over and let's take a look. I think Steve was putting some things in there. So he had said he had a wonderful day. I was on my, it was at my low point on my weight this week. He got down to 184. What? Boom. I love that. I love that. He said, I completed a 24-hour fast at 5 o'clock today. My ketones at the time are 1.9. I love that. I love that. I love that, Steve. And he says that he thinks that my ketones are going to be 2.1. 2.1. Well, we'll get to the ketones in just a minute. But right now, let's hop over and let's take a look and see what has been going on with my meters. Well, we'll come back to the meters here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what's going on with my report. And this is the Dexcom Clarity report that we're going to be looking at here. Okay, and you see my average blood sugar for the last 2 weeks, 117. 117, you'll see that there on the screen. If I let me turn on my mouse so I can highlight some of this for you. So 117 is what my average blood sugar is. I'm in target 96% of the time, and the target range is 70 to 180. And as you know, that is a safety issue, right? 70 to 180. But if we're going to get the types of numbers that we want, then we can't have blood sugars ranging up to 180. So what we're looking for are blood sugars that are between 100 and 120, okay? My glucose management indicator, which is a surrogate for A1C, is 6.1. So if I were to get my A1C based on this, it would be a 6.1. If I go back and I take a look at what my blood sugars have been over the last 90 days, this will probably be what, like 105. And my glucose management indicator is 5.8. If you remember, we did a check-in several weeks ago where we actually got blood work, and right in the middle of the screen there, you'll see that my A1C was a 5.8. So right in keeping with what my blood sugar is over the last 90 days. If I take a look at my my reports, my daily reports. Take a look at my daily reports, and we'll see what my blood sugars have been doing over the last several days as we've been in the fast. So we started the fast. We went from Sunday into Monday, right? So Monday at 1 o'clock, we were 1 o'clock, right? Let's see, we're 1 o'clock, right there. Ooh, right there. Right. So that was 24 hours. So 106. And so Sunday at 1 o'clock, right, we were 169, finished eating. Remember, I was coming out of anniversary weekend. And so that's a spike right there. And so we ended eating and we started the fast. And look, blood sugars continue to go down. There's a spike right there. And that spike actually was probably coming from just residuals of what's been going on, right? So, because remember, my blood sugars have been 170 with 180s. And so my body is more, at this point, has more carbs in it. And so at 24 hours, like I said, we're 108. Blood sugar continues to go down, continues to go down, continues to go down. We're in the 90s. That's 24 hours. And here on Tuesday, right? So we're at Tuesday, that's 48 hours. So what did I do? No, sorry, I think I did that wrong. So Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday at 1 o'clock, that's 48 hours. And then Tuesday into what's going to be Wednesday. And so right now we're right before Wednesday. So at Wednesday morning at 1 o'clock, it will be 72 hours. And right now it is, I probably got another, let's see, 1 hour and maybe 40 minutes. And that will be 72 hours. So right now we are 70 plus hours. And look at the blood sugars. They're down into the 70s, 72s. Okay. So now let's hop back over and let's take a look at what my ketones are going to be. So Steve says he thinks my ketones are going to be 2.1. So let me go ahead and pull up my Keto Mojo app. And while that comes up, I'm going to go ahead and pull that strip out and go ahead and restart this monitor. And then hopefully we'll see this Keto Mojo will go ahead and sync. And if it doesn't, let me go ahead and press the button. We're going to sync it. And Steve, I remember you said that you actually got a ketone monitor. What brand was it, by the way? Not we're promoting a brand, but I just want to know what it is. And so right now, look at that. Ketones were, blood sugar was 63, and ketones are 3.1. 3.1, approaching 72 hours of fasting. Remember, carbohydrates go down, ketones go up, and we'll take a look at the actual graph in just a minute. With ketones, therapeutic ketones, well, let me start from the beginning. If ketones are less than 0.5, they're considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. And so we're in therapeutic right now. So if I look at my actual graphs, you'll see there, so the tan line, those are blood sugars. The turquoise line, those are ketones. And as I've fasted, then my blood sugars go down and ketones rise. Remember, insulin and ketones cannot coexist. They can't be in the same space at the same time. So as blood sugars go down, insulin goes down. When insulin goes down, ketones come out. And we'll see as I start eating, right, we'll see the opposite. So as the blood sugars go up, then insulin has to come out to treat the blood sugars. And as insulin comes up, then our ketones are going to drop. But right now, you'll see there that the ketones started down low. I think it was 0.2, 0.3, and then up to 0.9, and then up to where we are at 3.1 right now. And blood sugars did the opposite. So they started up here at 134, then down to 99, and then down to 87, and then to what we are now, which is a 63. And that's what we want. One of the things that we've not talked much about recently is the glucoketone index. And that's that number you see there in the middle, which is 1.1. And it simply is taking the glucose and dividing it by the ketones, right? Glucose divided by ketones. And glucose, actually, you have to change it to international units, which is not hard to do, is just a matter of dividing that by 18. So 63, and let's go ahead and let's see. Let's go ahead. So 63 and 3.1. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to get my calculator up. Let's just do that calculation together. So 63 divided by 18 gives us 3.5, and then divide that by 3.1, and it gives us what we got in terms of glucoketone index, which is a 1.1. Okay, so for this, we want our ketones to be up above 0.5, because we're going to get that fat burning, get that blood sugar control. We want the glucose to be lower, right? So low glucose gives us high ketones, because now our body switched over. And then if we divide it, we get a glucoketone index that's low. So we want the ketones to be high, we want the glucoketone index to be lower. And it's just a ratio that we get in terms of what's going on in our body. And we're excited when we see the ketones, right? Because that means that our bodies are now burning fat and it's converting it into ketones, which is exactly what we want. And one of the things that we are interested in, and so Steve gave us his weight there just a little while ago. And Steve, I am excited to say that I'm hanging out with you, my friend. Let's say my brother and friend. I'm hanging right there with you, right? So 183 is what the blood sugars have been doing. And I do want to spend some time, just a moment, and talk a little bit about this. We'll do more on another day. But one of the things that people have asked me about is the management of weight as it relates to fasting, right? It is a great way, by the way, of managing weight, because when your body is burning fat and converted to ketones, guess what's happening? It's burning fat, right? Those fat cells are going away. And one of the frustrations that sometimes people will see is that they are, right? Somebody said to me, "Hey, my blood sugar it goes up. I fluctuate within 5 to 10 pounds." And my answer to that is yes, you will. And what we're looking for is not to looking at the day-to-day fluctuations that you get, because if you fast, you're going to lose anywhere from 0.5 to about 1.2, 1.5 pounds per day if you're doing extended fasting. That's right, you heard me, 0.5 to about 1.5 per day. Within the first 48 hours, much of what you're losing actually is water weight. And then as you get into the longer fast, then you begin losing other weight. But what we're looking for, and you'll see there, if you look at the graph, you'll see 183. And I want to go back to where I was last week. Right? So look at that, 182. And then today down to 183. But between those two, look at that, right? So 188. And so there's the fluctuation that you have. But what I want you to note is that over the course of time, as we're doing this, what we're looking for is not those fluctuations, but we're looking for the general trend. Now look at that. So back in March of 2023, we were 240 pounds. And today, I'm 183. So over the general trend, right? And then if I go back even further, this was back, what's that, 2022, right? I was 260 pounds. So it went from 260 in 22 down to 240 in 23, down to 183, or basically 184 in 2024. So the general trend, the general direction is going down. You will have fluctuations day to day. You will have fluctuations day to day. Let me say it again. You will have fluctuations day to day. But our concept, what we're doing is the general trend is heading in that direction. Okay? And if you are consistent, if you are with the plan, if you stay with New Year, New You, then the general trend is that your weight goes down. And so Steve, right? So Steve, I'm gonna put you on the spot if you don't mind. When was the last time your weight was below 200? I'll tell you, for me, when I got married, and we just celebrated 32 years of marriage. When I got married 32 years ago, I was in the 100s. 32 years ago. And over the course of the next couple of years, right? So we got up above 200, and I've remained above 200 for 30 years, I believe. New year, new you. And that's why I say there is power at the fingertips. And we'll talk a little bit, perhaps in another segment, about where that comes from, how we get to that point, what has to happen, or what had to happen to me for me to say, okay, this is it right here. And often we don't succeed, not because we don't succeed. We don't succeed because we don't have a plan. That's why New Year, New You is so amazing. It is a structured way of putting into practice the things that we need to do to be successful in this space. And look at that, right? So Steve, thank you for sharing that. So Steve says, 1980. I want you guys to get what he just said. He was below 200 pounds back in 1980, and since then has not been below 200. And he said that his maximum weight was 311. And right now, what he put in the chat, what he put in the comments, is that his weight is 184. Man, I got to give you some more props. Okay. That's the power, y'all, of New Year, New You. That's the power of consistency. That's the power of having structure. That's the power of working the plan. That's the power of education, the power of empowerment, and the power of community. Just love it, love it, love it. Hey, Steve, thank you for sharing that, man. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. We're gonna need to talk about blood sugars and medication and how that whole process happens. You know, we did a show last week about titrating medication. A very good one for you to go back and look at, because that's where we're heading. Remember, our goal is reversing diabetes, getting off of medication, healing ourselves metabolically. And as a result of that, as a side effect of that, as an ancillary to that, we get amazing weight loss. And so I'm excited for you, Steve, and for the community. If you're out there, go ahead and drop us a note. Let us know, okay? Let us know. Let us know what's going on. And that's the power of being unlimited. The power of knowing that at your fingertips, you have the ability to make a change. What would be interesting is to talk to you guys who are having success and to say to you, what was it that made you say, okay, this is it right here? What was your rubber meets the road? What was the thing that pushed you to say, okay, we're doing it this time? But understanding that there is unlimited potential. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past, the decisions you've made in the past. It doesn't matter what people have told you. It doesn't matter what you've tried. There's still the power there. There's still the ability to make a decision to be healthy in your life. And that's the power of being unlimited. And that occurs, that happens, that is fostered, that is supported, that is powered by education, empowerment, and encouragement. And that's what we do on the show, right? We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And I got this new scene from I was on a podcast recently I was watching, and a friend of mine did this, and I thought this is a great way of illustrating that the triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows that we do, the blogs, the podcasts. We educate with this space. Because in order to be successful, you've got to have a mindset change sometimes. You've got to change to a growth mindset. You've got to understand plasticity, elasticity, the ability to bounce back, being flexible. You've got to have a frame shift. You've got to understand that you have power, understand that you have unlimited potential, and that comes with education. So we educate, we empower with the tools that we learn. This conversation that we've had about how to deal with emotions, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, meditation, coming up with a routine, coming up with the daily plan, the HEAT model that we talk about, the ability to create a 7-day menu. All of those are tools that will help you implement the things that we are doing, the things that we're learning, the shift that we're having. To go from a scarcity mindset that says, I can only be where I am, and I can only do the things that I know currently, to saying, this is maybe where I am, but I'm not staying here. If you've not heard my story about falling out of the raft when I went whitewater rafting, go back and do that. Because when I fell out and I was holding on and I was, the raft was on top of me, I knew that I couldn't stay there. I didn't know what was going to happen if I let go. I didn't know where the rapids were going to take me. I didn't know what rocks were there, but I knew I could not stay where I was because I couldn't breathe. And right now, you don't know what's going to happen. That's okay. But you can't stay where you are. And the empowerment allows us, with the tools, to implement the things we're learning. And then community. I am so excited about the community that we have, the community that we're building, community that we're developing. Because community gives support. Community gives us the ability to know that we're not alone. Community gives us encouragement. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage right here on the channel. That's the platform, the triple E formula for success. In the process of eating, in the process of going through this plan to be metabolically healthy and to reverse our diabetes, there are some things that will push us in a direction that we don't want to go. They're called triggers. And the triggers for eating, the triggers for getting off of our plan fall into 4 categories. They are habits that we've formed. They're the emotions that come up. There's the access to the food and in our surroundings, and there is the taste that happens. The habits that we form, those are the cues, those social cues. Hey, it's lunchtime, it's noon, so I'm going to eat, even though I'm not hungry. It is, hey, I go to the movies and I eat popcorn because that's what we do at the movies. I tell the story that I was sitting in the movie, watching the movie, before I realized that I was eating popcorn. I didn't remember that I had stopped at the concession stand, gotten some popcorn, gotten something to drink, got into the movie theater, and I'm sitting there now and I'm eating popcorn. Those social cues that are around us, those habits that we formed, those patterns will push us to eat mindlessly. The emotions that we've developed, or the emotions that we're fighting, will push us to eat. It'll make us break our plan. It'll push through the decision that we've made to not eat something, or to be on a particular eating plan, or be on a particular diet, lifestyle change. The sadness, the boredom, the frustration, the anger, the depression, the anxiety. It's kind of like going on a roller coaster. And the roller coaster, that car goes up, 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 and it gets to the top. And you could be in that top and you can scream, yell, shout, whatever you want to do. But guess what? That car is coming down the other side. Yes, it is. Because once you get to that pinnacle, that's the natural result. And with our emotions, if those emotions get high enough, if it gets to the pinnacle, it's coming down the other side. And the decisions that we made about not eating such and such, or being on this diet, or doing this lifestyle thing, oh yeah, we're plowing right through that. So the goal is to manage the blood sugars and to manage our emotions on this side of the pinnacle, to be able to help deal with those emotions as they're climbing. That's why emotional intelligence is so important. So we eat because of habits, emotions. We eat because of access. Things are just in our area. They're in our space. We did a show on how to create a healthy space, how to clean up your house, how to clean up your work, how to clean up the community from the food that's around us. I love cashews. I love almonds. I can't bring them in the house because if they're here, I'm going to eat them. I don't bring Ben & Jerry's ice cream in the house anymore. I eat it when I'm out, but there's none here. Because having access to them. You walk by a coworker's desk and you pick up some candy. You go out to go to the bathroom and you pass by your kitchen or the dining room and there's a fruit or there's some candy or there's a bag of chips and you decide to eat it. Not because you're hungry, but just because it's there. And then we eat because of taste. The perfect combination of fat, of salt, and sugar, the bliss point. That's what the manufacturer wants. So when you eat that food, you'll say, I can't just have one, I gotta have another, and another, and another, and another. The bliss point. And remember, we're never chasing food. We're always chasing what the food does for us. The emotion that it calms. The mental space that it puts us in. That's why people love chocolate, because it decreases our cortisol level and it puts us in a sense of calm, a space of calm. The food, the taste, it reminds us of that time when we went to that place where we felt that good feeling. It reminds us of the way mama used to cook, a daddy used to cook. It reminds us of when I was growing up, that place we used to live. So we're never chasing the food. We're always chasing what the food does for us. I tell the story when I go to New York. I go to get Chinese food, pizza, and hot dog. Chinese food, pizza, and hot dog. Why? It's because my dad used to take me to get pizza, Chinese food, and hot dog. And there's a connection. So as old as I am, he's gone now. But I go to get pizza, hot dog, and Chinese food because there's that connection. So the HEAT model, habits, emotions, access, and taste. And here on the channel, the call to action is this. Do the challenges. Join the challenges. We've had challenges that have, that every month we're having a challenge. Don't just let this be something that's on the back burner. Let this be something that you are implementing. The challenges are with the intention of helping you to be successful, to implement the things that we're learning. The month of January, figure out your why. What was the reason? What is the reason why you want to be healthy? Do you have a goal? You're about to retire. You want to travel. You and your significant other, friends, you guys have this stuff that you wanted to do. You wanted to build a business. You want to see a granddaughter, grandson, child go down the aisle. You want to see them graduate. You want to see them have their particular birthday. What's your reason? Because there are going to be days where you're going to not want to do this. You're going to be days where you're going to struggle. There are going to be places you're going to have bumps. And your why will put the sails beneath your wings. Your why is going to be the energy that gets you going, that keeps you going. So what's your why? In the month of February, hey, let's figure out how to fast for 24 hours. That's been the challenge. How do we begin to fast for 24 hours? Remember, the extended fasting happens at 24 hours. I love intermittent fasting. I love alternate day fasting. I love all of those. But if we're going to do some things, we got to do extended fast. And the ability to work our way up to a 24-hour period. That's what we talked about here in the month of February. In the month of March, we just talked about the heat model. What in the heat model is the thing that drives you? What is your trigger? Is it a habit that you formed? Is it an emotion that pushes you? Is it having access to certain things? Or is it the taste? What drives you? What is the thing that pushes you off of your eating plan? Then we said, hey, now let's figure out how to create a menu. We created a 7-day menu, and then we said to you, hey, let's go out and let's create one meal that was fitting these criteria. One, it was whole foods, decreased processing, no added sugar, starchy and non-starchy vegetables. It had appropriate portion sizes. It was tasty, and you had healthy fat and lean protein. And then mentor somebody in the heat model, in the new year, new you model. Let's go out and let's find somebody to bring alongside us. There are over 1 billion people on the planet that have either diabetes or pre-diabetes. You can be the voice of change in your family, in your community, on your job, at your church. Somewhere, somebody needs this. And you can be a mentor for them. Not somebody that you tell and say, hey, I'll see you in 5 months, but someone that you check in with on a regular basis. And then, hey, in the month of June, there are certain things we need to be looking at. Your A1C, your cholesterol, your kidney function, your liver function, all of those things. Hey, let's get our labs done. Make sure that you're getting your labs done. That was our challenge in the month of June, to get those done. Because if we catch things, we can take care of them. If we know something is going on, we can be there to help and take care of it. Okay? That was the month of June. And then, of course, in the month of July, it was to develop a exercise routine. I'm not talking about going to the gym. If that's what you do, great. But something simple as we begin burning some calories, as we begin talking about other ways that we can now, remember the pillars, decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar. How do we do that? Fasting is a way, and exercise now is something that we're adding into that. So that's the month of July. Join the challenges. Join the challenges. Number 2, when you show up, tell your story. Claim your seat. Right? Tell your story. Share your story, just like Steve was doing in the chat. When we hear your story, we know that, hey, we can do it. If Steve can do it, certainly I can do it. And when we hear about challenges, when we hear about places where you're having not as much success, where you have struggles, where you're having those humps, those bumps in the road, then we can come alongside. We can support you. We can help to encourage you. And we know that we're not alone. So do the challenges, tell your story, share your story, and then invite a friend. Don't keep this to yourself. Let somebody know what's going on. Let them know that they have power, they have potential, they have the ability to be successful in their health journey. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. That's how we do it here. And I'm always excited to have some time to spend with you, this amazing community that provides encouragement as we implement the power that we gain as we change our mindset. Yeah. Okay? So glad that I got a chance to spend some time with you. If you've not already done so, where we started a new feature, and it's called This Week in Review. And it occurs on Sundays, every Sunday at 6 a.m., where we recap a lot of what we've done during the week. We had our second episode this past Sunday. We got an episode coming up this Sunday coming. Make sure you get out there. You can sit there, you can watch it, you can play it in the background, and you will hear the things that we've done during the week, and we give some commentary on those as we enjoy the education that is there. As always, I keep saying I'm excited, and I'm just now 71 hours and a few minutes, okay, to my 72-hour fast. Glad that I can be here. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We'll see you tomorrow at a check-in. We'll see you Sunday at This Week in Review. And we'll see you on Monday on our show right here, 7 p.m. Central on Dwain Woode MD. Good night, everybody.